Thank you so much, Jeff. Thank you. Friends, in honor of Father's Day, our subject this morning is the gifts of our fathers. And as we consider these gifts, I've looked around and I've just stand in awe of the many paternal, those of you father figures here in this community. And I'm like, well, wouldn't it be great to hear from some of our fathers here in our spiritual community? So this morning we've invited a few of our church fathers to participate in conveying the gifts of our fathers this morning in the form of Reverend Dr. Robert Gore, Dr. Alan Wong, and Mr. Fabian Lewis. If you've seen these individuals around, they're always serving and helping to make this spiritual community to be the best that it can possibly be. And I asked each one of them to consider something that they might have learned or gained from their father or a father figure or as a father that they can present to us and share with us today as their gifts. Will you join me in receiving Reverend Dr. Robert Gore? Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Jack. This is a very special Father's Day because on Tuesday, we became parents, Brenda and I. We flew to the Big Island and picked up an 8-week-old Sheltie puppy named Kaimana, and the rest of our week has been spent saying, good boy, go potty, good boy, go potty. So we're celebrating being new parents today. When Reverend Jack asked me a few weeks ago to consider doing what we're doing today, I said yes, as I often do with him, and then realized, what have I done? As soon as he mentioned it, I thought, I know exactly what I'm going to do. It was intellectual, it was easy, and it was not going to be about anything personal. On Wednesday, Kumo and I went to a storage unit to look for a painting, a prop that I wanted to use that I had seen very recently in my locker. Nowhere to be found. Spent several hours. I got very frustrated. Thursday was the day I planned to go find this thing because I really wanted it and needed it. Instead, I get a call from Lisa saying, we have to set up these chairs today. There's a wedding coming up. And I thought, oh no, this is my day to prepare. So as I was setting up the chairs and kind of bickering a little bit about all we were doing, all of a sudden, a memory from 11 years old came to my heart. And Spirit said, that's what you're going to share. So that's what I would like to do this morning. The topic, where God guides, God provides. In 1936, my grandfather transitioned, and my father, being the oldest son at age 14, dropped out of high school and ran the farm and the ranch that they owned to support his parents. In 1941, at age 19, he met and married my mother and immediately went into the Navy during World War II. In October of 42, I was born. He served his country faithfully. When the war was over, he went back to Florida, got what was called a homestead at that time, and began a farm and started an insurance business. Within a couple of years, he was quite successful. I knew we were successful because we finally had running water, we had an indoor toilet, and we had some electricity in the house. Incidentally, one time a Hoover vacuum cleaner salesman came to the house, dumped a load of dirt on the floor and says, I'll eat this with a spoon if my Hoover vacuum won't pick it up. And my dad said, here's a spoon, we don't have electricity. Forgive me. But anyway, we got those things. No, he didn't. He left. He changed his line. In the winter of 1948, in a little country church, during a service, my dad expressed the fact that he had been called to become a minister. He did not have a high school degree. He had none of the qualifications that you would think of. That week, he gave the insurance business to a colleague for no money. He gave the farm to another friend for no money, and he said, the reason I'm doing this is because if I wait around to sell it, I'll probably never do this. 2 weeks later, he loads his family, 2 children and his wife, in a car, no resources, and heads 1,100 miles away to start college. Still didn't have his high school diploma. But somehow, he was able to achieve all of those things. When we were leaving, his mother was very upset that he would be leaving the family. And she said, you know, she called him Bob. She says, Bob, you and the family are going to starve to death up there in Nashville. Well, we didn't starve to death, obviously. But I remember what he said to her. He looked at her and he says, Mama, where God guides, God provides. And somehow as a 5-year-old, that went very, very deep inside me. The reason was that he was doing something about it. He wasn't just telling me something about God. He was doing it. He put his family in a car and he took off. Needless to say, he finished with honors and became a minister and served for a number of years just up the street in a church here where I attended Kaimuki High School. That's where I met Kumu Brenda. It took us 50 years later to reunite and get married, but that was the beginning of the joy of my life. So, when it became time for me to go to college, I had been accepted at the University of Hawaii and had a scholarship. But for reasons that I understand now, I chose to go to a small liberal arts college in California. So in August, I took my $600 that I'd saved from working at the Wigwam department stores, got on an airplane, didn't know how you get from an airport to where you want to go, no information, no resources. The last time my family had been able to help me had been several years before, so they weren't going to be supportive in terms of finances. They would be in terms of other things that are more meaningful. So I went away, and I remember I had the $600. I took a cab from the airport to the school, and the cab driver says that's $60. I thought he was kidding. I had no idea. I didn't know you're supposed to tip either, so I gave him 10% of my savings that I had, so I guess that was my first tithe. But I finished, and through the years, it's always been clear to me that what my father said that day to my grandmother, where God guides, God provides, became an absolute reality in my own life. Try as I may to figure out everything, and try as I may to have everything in order, it always comes back to when God guides, He provides, and I have to move over and get out of the way. So I thank you, Father, Daddy, for living the life that you talked about, not just saying it, but doing it. That's a rare quality in many fathers, and for that I'm extremely grateful this morning. Now, we would be remiss, and Reverend Jack's already mentioned this, not to realize that a number of us here probably have not had an ideal father experience. Kumu Brenda and I have been privileged to work around the world with people usually in their 30s and 40s who often have not had a father figure in their life. And we've been given a gift. It's a very simple one. All we do is ask permission to stand in as a parent, to ask them for forgiveness, to tell them that we love them, to tell them that we're proud of them, and to tell them that we're glad they chose us to be their father. I've seen big, husky, 35-year-old Russian men fall in my arms and sob like a baby. And then to get notes later in their life that's changed everything for them. They rewrote their story, and that's possible for all of us to rewrite our story. So again, I want to say to my father, thank you, thank you, thank you, and to all the fathers out there who are doing this every day of their life. I saw a little thing this morning when I was looking in preparation for this, and it went like this. I'd rather walk in the dark with God than go alone in the light. I'd rather walk with faith by Him than go alone by my sight. Thank you.
Good morning. My dad was a disciplinarian. Well, he had to be, raising 4 boys, all of us about 2 years apart. My dad was strict, but in a very loving and caring way. We heard and lived by many of my dad's teachings. Do any of these sound familiar to you? Teachings like, work hard, do your best, treat others with respect, get along with one another, and be grateful for what you have. However, there was one that grew on me and became more meaningful as I got older. It was initially a quote from Eleanor Roosevelt, and my dad often used it. It goes like this: "Yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, today is a gift, and that is why it is called the present." That was my dad's mantra. That is what he lived by. My dad was a man of faith, and he often included this saying in his prayers with the family at meal times. Because of that, the saying somehow stayed with me. And now it seems to be making an impact on my 3 children as well, as I often hear them saying it to each other, or saying it to my wife and I, as a reminder to enjoy the present, to be in the present, and to be grateful for the gift of today. I do want to give a short shout out to my 3 children and my youngest brother on the mainland. I love you guys. They're live streaming right now. My dad lived as if each day was a gift to him. Some of you may remember him, Dr. Albert Wong, as he and my mom started attending Unity back in the 70s. It was a Unity philosophy that helped encourage my dad to live life in the present with passion. His occupation was a dentist, but he enjoyed many things in his lifetime. He truly enjoyed music and singing. At our family gatherings, we would often end up with singing and playing ukuleles, and my dad would be the one leading everyone, handing out song sheets so that everyone could participate. How many of you remember when Unity Church had talent shows for the congregants? Yeah, so for a few of you. Well, it was right here in this church, on this stage, where my dad sang his first song in front of a real live audience. His debut at Unity led him to continue to pursue his passion. He went on to take singing lessons, entertain at care homes, sing at recitals in front of hundreds of people, and even recorded CDs. When I first watched him sing in live performances, I would get anxious and nervous for him. He would oftentimes be off pitch, and his timing would be offbeat. But to watch him in those moments, he just carried on to the end with no cares or concerns. He was just happy to be in the present and to be enjoying the moment. I would look around the room at the audience, and they were all enjoying it and having a great time. That moment taught me that it didn't matter whether he hit the right note or whether his timing was right. All that mattered was that he was passionate about what he was doing and thoroughly enjoying the moment. And that made everyone around watching him feel happy, joyous. I could see that he was truly shining his God light and spreading his gift to others. We all have the potential to live how my dad lived. Like my dad, we may not always hit the right note in life, and our lives may seem offbeat at times. But do continue on with passion and finish your song. If you find yourself bothered by something in the past, tell yourself, yesterday is history. Just go on, just move on. If you are worried or concerned about the future, have faith and say to yourself, tomorrow is a mystery and God will be with me every step of the way. And finally, joyfully and graciously accept God's gift for each day. Be present in every moment and be grateful for it. Yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, today is a gift, and that is why it is called the present. Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day, everyone. What is a father? To me, being a father is like being a teacher, but without vacations and summers. It's a 24/7, 365-day job. And it's one of the hardest jobs because children tend to learn more from what you do than what you say. My father was a great teacher. He taught me many things in my life. And I can remember thinking back to when I was a child, and he would say these strange things that made no sense to me. But later on in my life, I finally understood. He would say strange things like, Vinikai, Vinikai Moel. He would say things like, birds of a feather flock together, or a hard head will make a soft behind. He would say so many things that it just didn't make sense, but when I became a man, it made so much sense to me. Out of all the things that my father told me that really touched me and helped me become the man that I am, the one that really touched me the most was, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. When I was a child, I used to think that what he was trying to say to me is that when I grow up, I'm going to be just like him. But when I became a father, I realized the true power of this message and what it really, really meant. When I became a father, I realized how hard it is for a man to teach a boy how to become a man, and hopefully a man greater than he ever was able to become. I realized that my father actually had to be three men. He had to be the father that he did not have. He had to be the father that he wanted to be, and he had to be the father that I needed him to be. He helped me realize that the apple doesn't fall far from the tree because he is my tree. The many layers of his wisdom and the thickness of his bark taught me how to be wise and strong. The length of his branches taught me how to reach to the stars. The depths of his roots taught me how to build a foundation strong enough to support the man that I hope to one day grow to become. My father was my tree. My father is my tree. My father always will be my tree. And I can't thank him enough for that. I would like to say thank you to all the fathers here, all the trees that are here. Many times, you know that your children are not going to understand when you tell them things. It won't make sense now. But I hope that I can be testimony to tell you that one day they will understand. I'd like to take this moment to say thank you, Dad. Come here. This man, his greatest gift to me was not being my father. His greatest gift was teaching me how to be a father. And there's so many times that I don't know what to say. I remember when I first was a father, I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to do. But I knew that I knew what to do because he showed me what to do. He showed me what to say. And I can't ever show the appreciation that he truly deserves. Thank you. Let me give you something. My father's a Mets fan. And I know it's not an apple. But you've given me so much, and you're the greatest tree anyone could ever possibly imagine. Thank you for being my father. Thank you for making me.
You know, for the first several years of ministry, I would not preach Father's Day. I would pass that on to someone else. And I didn't quite understand it at first until I began to look at it at a deeper level. And I realized that because I grew up without a father figure, or my biological father. My mother was my mother and father, so I'll call her today and say Happy Father's Day. And she wore both hats very well. She was the disciplinarian, and she was the provider, the love comforter, and all of that. She had a way of disciplining us, and she could give us that look, and we knew that we better shape up. Just the look. She didn't have to say much of anything, but that look. Some of you know what I'm talking about. You ever received that look? Some of you are giving that look. I think I might be giving it. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. I think I might give that look unconsciously at times. And I realized, growing up on Father's Day, the minister, the pastor would call the fathers down and have them to come with their children, and they would do a special blessing of the fathers. And I longed to have that father presence to be able to walk down the aisle and to experience the hug and the love of a father. And I'm not oblivious to the fact that there might be others who have felt the same way, maybe even feel the same way here. Maybe your father is in the spirit realm. Maybe you didn't have a biological father. And you've always longed to have an embrace, a hug from a father. I'm going to ask Dr. Robert, Reverend Dr. Robert, and Alan, Dr. Alan, and Fabian. I want you all to come. 2 on this side and 1 on this side. And one of you come here. We want to extend this invitation to you. If your heart calls out for a hug, an embrace from a father, I want you to stand up and get in this middle aisle right now. Make a line in this middle aisle. Come on. Nothing to be ashamed of. Just stand right here in the middle aisle. Just stand right there, Tracy, right there. Get in the aisle. We have some new fathers to be. And for those of you who experience that father and the father presence, be thankful, be thankful, be thankful. You can get in the aisle. I've offered this to services, different communities, and I've had men, as Dr. Robert mentioned, men who have longed just to be held, to be caressed by a father presence. And this is why, as a spiritual leader, a spiritual father, I've sought to minister in a way that people feel loved and embraced in my presence and appreciated. So I'm going to invite you to just come down and get your hugs today, all right? Get hugs from everybody. Just make it around. Just get your hugs today. And that's what spiritual community is about. That we pull down the strongholds. And we break the chains of the past. We live in this now, experiencing God's presence as love, as healing and forgiveness. Thank you for being here today.